Now I've spent the past few months installing a Ford 5-liter V8 into my 1997 BMW M3. It's been on the road for a few hundred miles at this point, so I figured I would get it up in the air, iron out a couple issues I'm dealing with, and since it's up, I figured we'd do a walk around. So let's take a look at what we got. It's a 1997 BMW M3 Sedan. When I bought it, the engine had been run for an extended period of time without any oil pressure, so every rotating component of the engine was trashed. To me, it seemed like the perfect candidate for a V8 swap that I could daily drive. The body's in decent enough shape with only a couple of door dings and some minor rust spots. So now let's take a look under the hood. So here you can see the coils and the plug wires going around these oddly shaped exhaust manifolds. Yes, the manifolds are terrible, but they actually made the swap incredibly easy. Everyone else putting a 5-liter into an E36 BMW has to either custom make their headers or run a passenger side header on the driver's side backwards and then around the front to meet up with the passenger side. It's a mess, and it's a pain to package. And on the driver's side, the way the manifold loops and curves around, it actually fits right around the steering shaft perfectly. Now, if I ever want to get real power out of the engine, I'm definitely going to have to do something about the manifolds, like custom headers, but for now, they will work just fine. Moving under the car, you can see the Mustang Oil Pan I had to use in place of the stock Explorer pan, which was too deep for the engine to sit around the steering rack. And speaking of the steering rack, I replaced the stock M3 rack with a Z3 rack that's much quicker off-center. The stock M3 rack is really slow off-center. It required way too much lock to get the wheels to turn even a reasonable amount. And my rack was already leaky, so I went ahead and swapped in a Z3 rack. So the driver's side exhaust sneaks over to the passenger side, where both meet up with the stock BMW cats. After the cats come the Borla catback that a previous owner had already installed. Now overall, it's actually a lot quieter than I expected it would be. I figured with that single small muffler, it would end up being pretty obnoxiously loud, but because of those terrible restrictive exhaust manifolds and the cats dampening things a bit, it's quiet enough that I don't feel like I'm the a-hole neighbor with a loud car roaring up and down the streets. Here's my transmission. Pulled it from a 2004 V6 Mustang. These guys are pretty good options for a swap. Because it was behind a V6, it's probably less beat on than a T5 that was originally behind a V8. These era V6 transmissions have the same gearing and the same strength as the T5 that were behind the 94 and 95 V8, so they're rated for about 300 foot-pounds of torque, which is as high as a T5 was ever rated. For engine control, I'm using a Megasquirt MS3 with the MS3X expansion card, letting me do full sequential ignition and injection. Speaking of ignition, I ditched the Ford EDIS setup that came with the Explorer engine and grabbed a set of GM coils from an LS truck engine. I mounted those on the valve covers, I made my own plug wires to get them to fit around the stock exhaust manifolds, and now I can run full sequential ignition driven directly by the Megasquirt.
Fortunately, since it's a small block Ford, all I have to do is throw on some heads, some pistons, a cam, and it's easy enough to push up against 350 or 400 horsepower at the crank, so that day will come. That'll be a fun day. Now this M3 originally came equipped with the luxury package, which includes these luxurious wheels, these luxurious side skirts from the non-M3 series, these luxurious leather door inserts, and these luxurious chrome door handles, this luxurious wood trim on the dash, and these luxurious power leather seats with no M badging. And the luxury package originally came with a different front bumper with super ugly slats up front. Unfortunately, fortunately, my bumper is from the regular M3, so I don't have those ugly slats, and I got this nice curb checking lip.
I've also been able to integrate the Megasquirt with the stock gauge cluster. This one is analog. It has a few inputs. I tap into those inputs, they make lights blink. It's pretty simple. So I'm driving the oil pressure light, the check engine light, and the tach. Eventually I'll be able to do traction control once I get that set up with the Megasquirt. I also threw in a strip of LEDs to act as a shift light, which the Megasquirt will let me set at whatever RPM I need to. Right now it lights up at 4,500 RPM because literally nothing happens after that, so there's no point in revving the engine any higher.
And now the most important question of all. How does it sound? Does it sound good? It sounds good. So there you have it, my 1997 BMW M3 with a Ford V8 under the hood.